The alien mother stood alone on the hill, her knees sinking into the wet earth. Her hands trembled as she touched the small mound of soil before her. The grave was tiny, no larger than the body of a child. Her eyes, large and silver like the moon, poured endless tears. Each drop fell silently onto the dirt, soaking it like rain. She whispered words in her native tongue. Her voice broken, she begged the spirits to guide her child into the afterlife. She begged the universe to forgive her for not protecting what mattered most. Her arms wrapped around herself, as if holding an invisible child. Her body shook from both grief and cold wind. The battlefield behind her was silent now, only ashes and broken stones remained. The war had taken everything from her, her home, her husband, her people. And now it had taken her only daughter. She had dug the grave herself with bleeding hands, too weak to continue, but too broken to stop. The alien mother's world had shrunk into this one patch of dirt. She had nothing left, no future, no reason to keep walking. She laid her forehead on the soil and cried harder. "I'm sorry, my little star," she whispered. "I'm sorry I couldn't save you." The air around her grew heavy. A strange sound echoed faintly in the distance. It was not the wind, not the cries of animals, it was something else, something human. But she ignored it. Her grief was too heavy. She wanted to stay there, to die next to the grave if the universe wished it. Her mind replayed the last memory of her daughter. The child had been coughing, weak, too small to fight the sickness after the war. She remembered holding her in the ruins of their shelter, her tiny chest rising slower and slower, until at last stillness came. The mother had screamed that night, screamed until her voice broke, but no one came, no one cared. She believed her daughter had left this cruel world, so she buried her with trembling hands and no ceremony, just love. The mound before her was all that remained, a silent reminder of her failure. The alien mother felt her chest tighten as she tried to breathe. The world blurred, her tears endless. Then again, the strange sound reached her ears. Closer. This time it was the sound of boots pressing against earth, heavy and steady. Her head lifted slowly. Her heart skipped. Fear struck her as she saw a figure approaching from the smoke. A tall shape, broad shoulders, covered in dust. A human. She froze. Her kind and humans were not friends. The war had taught her that humans were dangerous, brutal, untrustworthy. Her grief turned quickly into fear. She pressed her hand on the soil mound as if to protect it even now. The human walked closer, his face shadowed, his steps careful. He did not carry a weapon in his hands, but she did not trust him. She whispered through her teeth, "Go away," her voice weak yet sharp. The man stopped a few feet away. His eyes studied the grave, then looked at her. His face softened, but he said nothing. He simply stood there, silent as the wind. Her heart pounded. She thought of running. But where would she go? She thought of fighting, but she had no strength left. She stayed, frozen between fear and despair. The human finally spoke, his voice low, almost gentle. "I'm sorry," he said. The words were simple yet strange in her ears. No human had ever spoken to her that way. She narrowed her eyes, wondering if this was a trick. He looked down at the grave again. His jaw tightened, as if holding back his own pain. "This is your child?" he asked quietly. The mother flinched, rage rising with her grief. "Not your concern," she hissed. Her nails dug into the soil. The man nodded once. He did not argue. He did not move closer. He only looked at her with something she had never seen before: sympathy. The wind blew harder, lifting ashes from the battlefield into the air. The mother's hair whipped across her wet face. Her tears would not stop, her body weak, her spirit broken. She felt she could not endure another moment, but then she noticed something. The human was carrying a small bundle wrapped in cloth. His arms held it carefully as though it were more fragile than glass. Her eyes widened, her breath caught. Her heart still heavy with grief, skipped as a whisper of hope tried to rise. She wanted to ask, but fear chained her tongue. What was he carrying? Why did he come here? The human saw her eyes flicker to the bundle. He shifted it gently, almost protectively, but he did not reveal what was inside. Not yet. His voice, steady but mysterious, carried across the wind. You should not cry over this grave, he said softly, because what you buried was not death. The alien mother's eyes shook. Her tears stopped for the first time. Her lips parted in disbelief. Her chest rose and fell quickly. A storm of questions crashed inside her mind. She stared at him, frozen between fear and hope, not knowing if she was about to break even further, or if her entire world was about to change forever. The alien mother's breath caught in her throat. Her body stiffened as the human's words echoed in her ears. What you buried was not death, he had said. The sentence played again and again inside her mind, twisting her grief into confusion. Her silver eyes locked on the bundle in his arms. The cloth moved slightly as if something inside had stirred. Her heart pounded so loud she thought it might burst. But her fear, her distrust of humans, chained her voice. The man stood calm, his shoulders broad, his hands steady. There was no weapon, no armor, no threat in his stance, but there was mystery. Why would a human approach her at the grave? Why would he carry something wrapped so carefully? Her lips trembled. Finally, a whisper escaped. What do you mean? Her voice cracked like dry wood, weak and full of pain. The human took one slow step forward, not close enough to alarm her, but enough to let her see the bundle clearer. The cloth was old, torn, stained by smoke, but the way he held it, tight, careful, protective, made it look like treasure. You think your child is gone, the human said. His voice was low, but each word struck her heart like thunder. But I found something. Someone. He paused, eyes searching hers, as if measuring whether she could handle the truth. Her chest tightened. Her mind screamed at her not to hope. Hope was cruel. Hope destroyed the broken. But her soul leaned forward, desperate. No, she whispered, shaking her head. You're lying. You want something from me. Humans always want something. The man shook his head slowly. I don't want anything, he replied. I only want you to see. The bundle stirred again, softer. This time, like a sigh, the alien mother's nails dug into her palms. Her eyes widened, her throat closed, a sound rose inside her memory. Her daughter's faint breathing before she thought she died. Her body leaned toward the bundle, but her feet stayed rooted. Show me, she whispered, trembling. If this is some trick, I will curse you until my last breath. Human. The man's eyes softened. Then curse me after, he said simply. His hands moved, slowly peeling away the dirty cloth. The mother's heart stopped. She could not breathe. She could not move. And then, she saw it inside the cloth. Lay a small alien child, fragile and pale. Her skin carried the same patterns as her mother's, glowing faintly like starlight beneath the dirt. Her tiny chest rose and fell weakly, but it rose. It fell. Life, the mother gasped. A sound between a sob and a scream tore from her throat. Her hands flew to her mouth as her knees nearly gave out. No, no, it cannot be, she cried, her silver eyes flooded, her body shaking. My little star, my child. The human bent lower, kneeling. He held the child out gently, as if offering the most precious treasure in the galaxy. The child whimpered softly, a sound so small, so fragile, but real. The mother fell forward on her knees. Her hands hovered over the child, afraid to touch, afraid it was illusion, afraid the moment she touched her, the dream would shatter. She was gone. The mother whispered. I buried her. I saw her still. I saw her cold. The man shook his head, his eyes serious. She was not gone. Her body was weak, too weak for you to feel her breath. But I found her, shallow in the soil. I gave her air. I gave her warmth. And she clung to Life, the mother's sobs shook her chest. Her arms finally wrapped around the child. She pulled her daughter against her heart, feeling the faint but steady breath against her skin. "She's warm," the mother cried. "She's warm. She's alive." The child stirred faintly, her tiny hand clutching weakly at her mother's cloth. The alien woman kissed her head again and again, her tears wetting the child's face. "Forgive me," she whispered. "Forgive me for letting go. Forgive me, my little star." The human lowered his head respectfully. He did not interrupt. He simply watched, his jaw tight, his own eyes heavy. With unspoken weight, minutes passed in the sound of sobs, the wind carrying ash, the child breathing softly. The alien mother's grief had turned into trembling joy, but confusion gnawed at her heart. Her eyes snapped up to the man, sharp again. "Why?" she demanded. "Why did you save her?" "Humans destroy. They kill. They burn. Why would you save my daughter?" The man's lips pressed into a thin line. His eyes seemed to look far beyond her, into memories he did not want to touch. His voice was quiet when he answered, "Because once, someone saved mine." The mother froze. Her anger melted into silence. She did not know his story, but she saw it in his eyes, the same pain she carried, the same fire of loss. The silence between them grew heavy. The human stood slowly, brushing dust from his knees. "Keep her close," he said. "She is fragile, but she is stronger than you think." His eyes looked at the grave mound beside them. Death did not take her, not yet. The mother clutched her child tighter. Her heart swelled with both fear and gratitude. She still did not trust him, but his words, his actions, they did not match the stories told about humans. She whispered, half to herself, half to him. "Perhaps the universe does not only take, perhaps it gives too." The man looked at her for a long moment. Then, without another word, he turned his gaze toward the horizon. Smoke still rose from the ruins, and danger still lived in the shadows. But for the first time in many nights, there was also hope. The alien mother pressed her lips to her child's forehead. Her tears still flowed, but they were no longer only of sorrow. They were tears of a broken heart being mended, slowly, painfully, but truly. And as the human stood guard, silent, steady, she realized that whatever secret he carried, it had changed her world forever. The child's breathing was faint, so faint that every rise and fall of her chest felt like a fragile miracle. The alien mother held her close, afraid that if she loosened her grip, her little star would vanish. Once again, her silver eyes never left her daughter's face. She counted every breath, whispering prayers to keep the rhythm alive. The human sat nearby, his back resting against a broken stone pillar. His clothes were torn, his arms scraped, and his face was marked with the exhaustion of someone who had walked through fire. Yet his eyes stayed sharp, focused on the child, watching her small chest rise and fall with quiet relief. The mother's voice broke the silence. How did you do this?" she asked. Her tone was a mix of wonder and suspicion. "I buried her. I felt no life. Yet here she is, breathing again." The man's gaze shifted toward her. He paused before answering, as though weighing whether she would believe him. Finally, he said, "Humans. We have ways of fighting death. Sometimes not with strength, but with knowledge. Your daughter was slipping away, but not gone. I gave her air when she could not breathe. I warmed her when the cold tried to take her. I pushed her heart to keep beating." The mother's eyes widened. Her kind did not know such methods. To them, stillness meant the end, but this human. He had seen beyond the silence. He had pulled her daughter back from the edge. "You touched her heart?" she whispered. "With your hands?" The man nodded slowly. "With my hands, with my breath, with my will. I refused to let her go." His voice grew softer. "I know what it means to lose a child. I would not let you carry the same weight if I could fight it." The alien woman's body trembled. Her distrust of humans fought against the truth she saw before her. Her child was alive, her warmth undeniable, Her daughter's tiny fingers twitched and curled weakly against her chest. The proof of his words rested in her arms, but still, her voice shook with suspicion. Why her? Out of all who have fallen, why my child? The man's eyes dropped. His jaw tightened. Because once, I buried a grave too small, he said quietly. His hands clenched against his knees. And no one saved mine. Silence fell heavy between them. The mother looked at him, truly looked, and for the first time she saw not an enemy soldier, not a human destroyer, but a man carved from grief. His pain was not so different from hers. His loss had given him the strength to save where he once had failed. The little girl stirred. A weak sound escaped her lips. The mother gasped and pulled her closer, whispering her name again and again. Her daughter's eyelids fluttered, two faint lights glowing beneath them. Slowly, her eyes opened, hazy and confused. The mother's sob turned into laughter, broken and shaky, but laughter still. "You're here," she whispered to the child. "You're here, my little star." The girl's lips parted. A faint sound slipped out. "Mama." Her voice was small, fragile like cracked glass, but it was enough. It was everything. The mother wept harder, pressing kisses on her daughter's forehead. "I thought I lost you. I thought the stars had taken you," she cried. "But you came back. You came back." The child blinked weakly. Her gaze moved slowly toward the human sitting nearby. She studied him with innocent confusion. Then, with effort, her tiny hand lifted, reaching clumsily in his direction. The mother stiffened. Her eyes followed the small hand stretching toward the human. Her heart battled between fear and gratitude, but the child's gesture was clear. In her weakness, she reached for the man who had pulled her back into life. The human's face softened. He did not move closer. He only raised his hand slightly, acknowledging her. "Rest, little one," he whispered. "The world needs your breath." The mother held her tighter, her tears soaking the child's skin. Yet in her chest a new feeling stirred, a warmth she had not known since before the war. Hope. The man leaned forward slightly, his voice low but firm. "She needs food, warmth, and time. Her body is weak, but she has a strong spirit. Don't let despair take her again. Fight for her every moment. That is what she needs now." The alien woman looked at him, her lips trembling. "And if I cannot?" The human's eyes met hers, sharp and steady. "Then I will." Her heart stuttered. For so long she had seen humans as monsters, yet here was one who spoke as though her child's survival was his own duty. Her fear did not vanish, but a seed of trust began to root deep inside her. The night grew darker. Ash drifted like snow around them. The human gathered pieces of broken wood and built a small fire. Its glow painted their faces in gold and shadow. The mother sat close, her daughter wrapped tightly in her arms. The fire crackled softly, filling the silence. The human glanced at the mother. "Tell me her name," he said quietly. The woman hesitated, then whispered, "Leora." "It means light of the stars." The man repeated it softly, almost to himself. "Leora." His voice carried respect, as if speaking a sacred word. The child's chest rose and fell, stronger now. Her small hand gripped her mother's cloth and did not let go. The alien woman pressed her cheek against her daughter's head, whispering promises she had once thought impossible to keep. And though shadows still lurked beyond the fire, though danger had not vanished, inside that small circle of warmth life had returned. The mother looked across the fire at the human. Their eyes met. No words were needed. The truth was clear. Her daughter lived because of him, and for the first time, the alien mother wondered if the war between their kinds was only a wall built of lies and pain, one that perhaps, just perhaps, could be broken. The fire's glow painted the night with trembling light. The alien mother sat close, her daughter cradled tightly against her chest. She had thought the tiny grave was the end. Yet here the child was, breathing, warm, whispering soft sounds that made the mother's heart tremble. Her hands stroked the girl's hair, her voice a broken melody of relief. Leora, my little star, you are here, you are safe. She whispered the name again and again, like a prayer. The child stirred weakly, her eyes half open, her small, lips moving to form one word. Mama! The alien mother wept harder, pressing her lips to the child's forehead. Her tears dripped onto the girl's cheeks, but the little one did not flinch. She clung to her mother's cloth with fragile fingers, refusing to let go. The grave had promised death, but now life clung stubbornly in her arms, across the fire. The human sat silently, watching. His face was lined with shadows, his eyes weary yet calm. He had seen this moment before in another time, with another child, his own. But that memory belonged to sorrow, not to joy. Tonight the reunion he watched belonged to her, to them. The mother raised her head, her eyes shining silver in the firelight. She looked at the human, her voice trembling. She knows me. She remembers me. She kissed her daughter's head again, whispering softly. She remembers her mother. The man nodded, his voice low. Of course she does. Nothing stronger than a child's love. He poked at the fire with a stick, the sparks rising into the night sky like stars. His gaze lingered there as if remembering something far away. The mother shifted, her arms rocking the girl gently. The weight felt both heavy and light, heavy with the fear of losing her again, light with the miracle of having her once more. She whispered, I thought I lost her forever. I buried her. With my own hands I cursed the stars for stealing her from me. Her voice cracked, but she was still breathing, and I did not see. Her chest tightened with guilt. She pulled her daughter closer. I failed her, she whispered bitterly. A mother who cannot protect her child is nothing. The human's eyes lifted sharply. His voice grew firm. You did not fail her. You fought, you endured, you buried her because you believed she was gone. You did what any mother would do, but she still lives, and now she needs you stronger than ever. The alien woman froze. His words struck deep into her heart. Her tears slowed, replaced with a quiet strength. She looked down at her child, saw the fragile but real breath rising in her chest, and nodded faintly. The child stirred again. Her eyes fluttered open wider this time, golden light shimmering faintly in their depths. She looked at her mother, then at the human, across the fire. For a moment her gaze lingered on him. Her small lips moved clumsily, whispering a sound. Who, man? The mother gasped, startled. She turned to the man, eyes wide. She spoke of you. The man's chest tightened. He shook his head slowly. She should not waste her strength on me. All that matters is that she speaks at all. His lips twitched in the faintest smile. Her voice is a gift. The mother held her daughter tighter. Her voice was silent when I buried her, and now it returns. She kissed the child's temple again, her silver tears sliding down her cheeks. The fire crackled, filling the silence. The night carried the distant sound of shifting rubble and far-off cries. The war was not far. Danger still stalked the land. Yet for one fragile circle of time, hope had broken through the ash. The mother finally asked the question burning inside her. What happens now? She looked at the man, suspicion lingering but weaker now. Why do you stay here with us? You have given her life, but why risk yours? The human's eyes met hers steadily. His voice was calm, but heavy with truth. Because she is not safe. You are not safe. The ones who burned this land will come again. They will not care for a mother's tears or a child's breath. If you walk alone, you will lose her once more. Her heart twisted. Fear gripped her chest. She had no home, no allies, no strength left. She had only her child, and even that fragile gift could slip away. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Then where do we go? The man looked into the fire, his jaw tightening. To a place where she can heal, where you can rest. It is not far, but the path is dangerous. He glanced at her daughter, his voice softening. But I swear I will not let her fall again, not while I still breathe. The alien mother studied him. Her distrust of humans battled with the undeniable truth. Her child lived because of him. Her daughter's faint golden eyes, blinking weakly at the man, seemed to carry no fear of him, only quiet recognition. The mother lowered her gaze, her hand smoothing over her child's small back. Her voice was quiet, fragile yet determined. Then I will follow for her. The human nodded once, no pride in his face, only solemn duty. He leaned back, closing his eyes briefly, letting the fire's warmth rest on his battered skin. The alien mother pressed her cheek against her daughter's head, her heart still a storm of fear, guilt, and gratitude. But as her child's faint breaths soothed into steady rhythm, she realized something she had not dared believe. This was no dream. This was real. Her daughter was alive. Her arms were full, her soul no longer empty. The grave she had wept over was no longer a place of sorrow. It was now a reminder of what had almost been lost, and what had been miraculously returned. And though enemies lurked in the shadows, though danger pressed, in from all sides in that moment mother and daughter were whole again. For the first time since the war began, the alien mother believed in tomorrow. The night had grown quiet, but the alien mother's heart was loud with questions. She held her daughter close to her chest, her silver eyes shining with both relief and unease. The human had saved her child. Yes, but how had such a miracle happened? How could her daughter breathe again after being buried beneath the soil? The fire cracked softly, throwing sparks into the dark sky. The human sat across from her, his face tired, his eyes shadowed by secrets he had not yet shared. He was not a man who spoke much, but silence could not answer the storm in her chest. Finally, the mother's voice cut through the still night. "Tell me the truth," she whispered. "Do not hide it from me. I buried her. I felt no breath, no warmth, and yet you tell me she was alive. How? What did you find in the soil?" The man lifted his gaze. His eyes were calm but heavy with something that weighed on him deeply. He let out a long breath, then spoke. "I found your child by accident. I was searching the ruins for survivors. My people were retreating and I stayed behind. That's when I heard it." The mother frowned. "Heard what?" The man leaned forward, his voice quiet. "A faint sound, weaker than the wind. I thought at first it was nothing, but then I realized it was the sound of earth shifting, like something moving beneath the soil. I dug with my hands until my nails broke, and there she was." The mother's throat closed, her arms tightened around her daughter. "You mean she was alive, beneath the ground?" He nodded slowly. "Barely. Her breath so shallow even your people might not sense it. Her body cold, her chest still, but there was a spark. Tiny, fragile, but not gone. Someone thought she was dead and buried her too soon." The mother gasped. Her heart twisted painfully. "I was the one," she cried softly, her voice breaking. "I buried her. I saw no life. I gave her to the soil because I thought I had lost her." Her tears fell hot on her daughter's head. "I failed her even in death." The human shook his head firmly. "No, you did not fail her. You were broken. You were grieving. You had no tools, no training. You saw stillness and thought it was the end. Anyone would have believed the same, but death had not claimed her fully, not yet." The alien woman looked at him, confusion in her eyes. "Not fully?" The man's voice grew steady, almost like a lesson. "There are moments when life hangs by a thread, when the body seems gone but the spark remains. Humans call it the edge of death, a place where one breath more or less decides everything. She was there, buried alive, trapped in silence, but she fought. Her spirit clung to life. That is why I heard her faint sound." The mother shivered. The thought tore at her heart. Her daughter, trapped beneath the earth, still breathing faintly, waiting, crying in silence. She kissed the girl's forehead, whispering apologies between sobs. "Forgive me, my little star. Forgive me for leaving you in the dark." The child stirred, her tiny fingers curling weakly against her mother's arm, as though answering her grief with fragile comfort. The human leaned closer, his voice lowering. "I gave her breath. I pressed on her chest until her heart found its rhythm again. I warmed her body with fire in my own hands. It was not easy. Her spirit wanted to leave, but I would not let it. I fought for her life as though it was my own. The alien mother looked at him with wide eyes. Why? Why would you fight so hard for a child who is not yours? You could have left her, you could have walked away. The man's jaw tightened, his eyes darkened with memory. Because once, I did walk away, not by choice, but by failure. His voice cracked for the first time. My child. I could not save her. I buried her small body with my own hands and no one came to bring her back. I swore if I ever found another life on the edge, I would not let the stars take them. Not again. The mother's chest ached. For the first time she saw not only a rescuer, but a man scarred by the same grief she carried. His pain was carved into his words, and it was that pain that had given her child a second chance. Her voice softened, trembling with emotion. Then my daughter breathes because of your sorrow. The man nodded slowly. And because of her strength she clung to life when even the grave closed over her. Do not think of her as weak. She is stronger than both of us. The mother looked at her child, awe in her eyes. She had always called her little star, but now she truly saw the light burning in her, faint yet unyielding. She kissed her again and whispered, "You are stronger than I ever knew." The fire burned lower, but inside the circle of its light truth had been revealed. The grave had not been death, but a prison of silence from which her child had returned. The alien mother looked at the human again, distrust fading slowly. "Perhaps," she whispered. "The truth of death is not what I thought. Perhaps life is not so easily stolen. Perhaps hope can survive even beneath the earth." The man's eyes softened. His voice was firm. "Yes, and as long as she breathes, you must protect that hope. Because many will try to take it again." The night grew colder. Shadows pressed at the edges of the firelight. But the alien mother felt something she had not felt since the war began. Strength. Her child lived, her arms were full, and the human who once was her enemy had given her back her world. The truth of death was no longer despair. It was the reminder that even when silence falls, life can whisper still, and that whisper could be enough to change everything. The fire burned low, casting faint light on the ruined land. The alien mother sat close to the warmth, her daughter wrapped safely in her arms. The child slept now, her breath soft but steady. Each tiny rise of her chest felt like a promise. Fragile, yet alive. The human sat across from them, silent. His eyes scanned the darkness beyond the fire, watching, guarding. The night was not safe. The war had left shadows filled with danger. Yet within that fragile circle of fire, something different lived. Trust, weak but growing. The mother's silver eyes studied him. She had been taught all her life that humans were enemies, destroyers, selfish creatures who only took. Yet this one had given, not taken. He had given breath to her child. He had given her back her hope. Her voice broke the silence, low and uncertain. "You saved her, but you also stayed. You could have walked away after giving her back. Why remain here?" The man looked at her, his face calm but weary. "Because danger has not ended. If you walk alone with her, she will not survive the night. She needs more than life. She needs protection, food, shelter, healing. And you?" His eyes lingered on her tired form. "You are too weak to carry all that alone." The mother's lips trembled. She hated the truth of his words. Her body was thin, her hands still cut from digging graves and ruins. She had survived only through grief and will, not strength, she whispered bitterly. "So I am a burden." The human shook his head firmly. "No, you are her strength. Her breath follows yours. Without you, she would have nothing to fight for. But even strength needs support." His words struck her, not like an enemy's blade, but like a hand reaching through the dark. Her chest tightened. She lowered her gaze to her daughter, kissing her forehead. "She is all I have," she whispered. If I lose her again, I will have nothing. The man's voice softened. Then you will not lose her, not while I breathe? The mother looked up sharply. Her eyes searched his face, looking for a lie, but all she saw was steady resolve. It was strange, dangerous even, to trust a human, yet his eyes carried no trick, only pain and determination. Her child stirred faintly in her arms, whispering a sound in her sleep. The mother rocked her gently, humming an old lullaby of her people. Her voice trembled, but the melody calmed the child's restless movements. The human listened, his face unreadable. When the song ended, he spoke quietly. That song, it's beautiful. The mother blinked in surprise. It is the song of mothers in my clan. We sang it to guide children into dreams. My people are gone now, but the song remains. Her eyes grew wet. I thought no one would ever hear it again. The man lowered his gaze. Now someone has. For a moment, silence grew between them, not cold, but warm, fragile, like the first light of dawn. The mother whispered, "Perhaps the stars placed you here. Perhaps they chose you to return her to me." The human's lips twitched faintly, almost a smile. "Perhaps the stars owed you a gift." The fire hissed as wood cracked. Sparks rose like fireflies into the night. The child shifted again, her small hand slipping from the cloth and brushing her mother's cheek. The touch made the woman's heart swell. She pressed her lips to the little hand, whispering softly, "I will not fail you again." The human leaned forward, his voice steady. "Then let us not fail her together." Her eyes widened at his words. "Together?" she repeated. He nodded once. "Your love gives her reason to live. My hands can give her strength to heal. Alone, she may not survive. But if we stand side by side, she will have a chance." The alien mother looked at him for a long time. The thought of walking with a human, trusting a human, was impossible once, but now, her child's life was proof that impossible things could happen. She exhaled slowly, her voice soft. "Then I will walk with you. For her." The man nodded again, calm and sure. For her. The bond was not spoken as friendship, nor as peace. It was something deeper, something born of grief and survival, forged in fire and loss. They were not allies by choice, but by the fragile breath of a child who had tied their fates together. The mother shifted, looking into the fire. If she grows strong again, if she survives this war, she will not remember graves and sorrow. She will remember only that her mother and a stranger fought for her. She will remember that life was worth holding. The human's gaze lingered on her. "And that will be enough," he said. The fire burned lower. The night stretched on, and danger still waited beyond the light. But within that fragile circle, two enemies had become something else, bound not by treaties or words, but by the fragile heartbeat of a child. The alien mother pressed, her cheek to her daughter's hair, her voice a soft whisper carried by the flames. "Then let this bond be forged, not for me, not for you, but for her." And the human, though silent, nodded once more, his eyes steady, his body ready. For the first time in many years, he had found a reason to fight again, not for his own child lost to the stars, but for the little one who now breathed between them. The bond was sealed, fragile yet unbreakable, in the breath of a child who had been pulled from the grave. The sky was no longer black. A thin line of pale light stretched over the horizon, the first sign of dawn after a long night of grief and fire. The alien mother sat with her child in her arms, feeling the warmth of the little body pressed against her chest. Every breath from her daughter was a gift, a promise, a second chance. The human stood a few steps away, his silhouette sharp against the growing light. His eyes scanned the distance where smoke still curled into the sky. He knew the war was not gone. Danger still lingered like wolves in the dark. But for now, he allowed himself one small relief. This mother and child had survived another night. The mother's silver eyes followed him. She had not slept. Fear still wrapped itself around her heart, but gratitude sat beside it. Strong and undeniable, she whispered softly to her daughter, "The stars gave you back to me, little one, and a stranger guarded you through the night." The child stirred faintly, her golden eyes fluttering open. She looked first at her mother, then at the human. A weak smile touched her lips, small but real. Her fragile hand lifted clumsily toward him. The mother felt her chest tighten at the sight. She did not pull the hand back, not this time. The man knelt down slowly, careful not to frighten the child. He reached out, not touching her, but letting her small fingers rest near his. "You are strong," he said quietly, "stronger than most who walk this world." His voice carried no pity, only respect. The mother's eyes grew wet again. Her voice trembled. She should not even be alive, yet here she is, smiling. She kissed the top of her daughter's head. "She is my tomorrow." The man nodded. "Then we must build tomorrow for her together." The mother hesitated, her lips parting. For so long she had lived in a world where tomorrow meant nothing but sorrow. Yet now, holding her daughter, seeing her open her eyes again, she dared to believe. "Tomorrow," she whispered, tasting the word like it was new. "Yes, she deserves one." The human rose and looked toward the horizon. The light was brighter now, chasing shadows from the ruins. "There is a place not far from here," he said. "A settlement where survivors gather. It is dangerous to reach, but safer once inside. There she can heal and you can rest." The mother's heart ached with fear, but also with hope. "And you?" she asked quietly. "Will you walk with us?" He looked back at her, his jaw tight, but his eyes steady. "I will walk with you until you are safe. That is my promise." Her chest filled with something she had not felt in years. Trust, fragile, but growing. She nodded slowly. "Then we will follow." They began their journey at dawn. The mother wrapped her daughter close, the human walking slightly ahead, always scanning the ruins for danger. The land was scarred by war, buildings broken, smoke rising from distant fires. Yet with every step, the sun climbed higher, painting the world in light again. The child stirred against her mother's chest, whispering faint sounds. Her small voice carried life, not silence. The mother sang, softly to her, the lullaby of her people, her voice no longer only mourning but carrying hope. The human listened, his expression unreadable, but his pace steady, as though the song gave him strength too. Hours passed. Their bodies ached, but the thought of safety pushed them forward. At one point, the mother stumbled, her knees weak. The human was there instantly, steadying her. "Do not fall," he said. "She needs you standing." The woman looked at him, her silver eyes filled with both gratitude and pain. "And if I cannot?" His hand lingered for a moment, then released. "Then I will carry you both." Her chest swelled with emotion. She lowered her gaze to her child, whispering, "Do you hear that, little star? We are not alone." As the sun climbed higher, they finally reached the edge of a valley. Below lay a cluster of shelters, smoke rising from fires, figures moving. "Survivors," the human pointed. "There, that is where she can heal." The mother stared, tears filling her eyes again. "A place to live," she whispered, "a tomorrow." But then her chest tightened with fear. What if they see me and cast me out? What if they see her and hate us? "I am not human." The man's gaze hardened, his voice carried steel. "Then they will see me beside you, and they will know you are under my protection. No one will touch you, not while I breathe." The mother's lips trembled. Her daughter stirred, her tiny hand clutching her mother's cloth tightly. The child's golden eyes blinked open. She looked at the man, then whispered a faint sound. "Safe." The word was broken, small, yet it struck both mother and man like thunder. The alien mother wept openly, pressing her lips to her daughter's head. "Yes, my little star safe," she whispered. "Tomorrow will come for you." The human stood tall, his eyes fixed on the settlement ahead. His past still haunted him, the grave of his own child still carved into his soul. But here now he had kept a promise, he had saved a child, he had given back tomorrow to someone who had lost it. And as they began walking down into the valley together, mother, child, and man, the ruins behind them burned quietly, but the light ahead grew stronger. The grave had been sorrow, but the breath of life had turned it into hope. The bond forged in grief had become a path forward, and tomorrow, uncertain, fragile, but real, belonged to them.